Hello, Star Wars fans! Hey, there's just 198 days until Christmas 2022. Hopefully, we're going to have a fun discussion today. And hopefully, you've all seen Star Wars Meg's video from this morning. Unfortunately, she messaged me earlier, and you saw her here in the chat. She's not able to join us today. I do want to cover a couple of things before I do have a surprise special guest with me today. But I want to cover a couple of things. One is we've changed up how we're using Patreon. And so for some of you who would like to do like a super chat or that kind of thing, if you are a Patreon supporter, there is a channel in there where you can ask questions, and we will treat all of the questions in Patreon in that channel as a super chat. So think of it as an unlimited super chat. And it saves you some money from donating it to YouTube. So you could catch that over on our Patreon, and you can join there for as little as just $1 a month. That'll give you access to the unlimited super chat feature. And also, if you decide to support at a higher level, we have monthly giveaways that we do in a members only Zoom meeting. And we're going to schedule that for this coming Monday. This upcoming Monday, we're going to have our monthly Zoom meeting. We go over some of the financials related to the channel. We give away stuff and we talk about whatever you guys want to. It's just visiting. So join over on Patreon or here on YouTube, and you get access to many of those kind of features. So all of that out of the way, we do have a guest today, and I'm super thankful. Sheiv the Wise. Good to see you, my friend. Hello there. Oh my goodness. It's great to have you to visit with. And I saw your take on episode 4. We share a lot of the same sort of thoughts. And yeah, I caught the Den of Nerds this morning. Did you catch Den of Nerds live?
I did.
Okay. Yeah. Josh, fired up.
Oh, yeah.
But I get what he's doing. I've said this before. Look, Josh is putting on a show. He does a show. Like, he's entertaining. He's doing that, and he's making a point. And actually agree with the point he's trying to make at the same time as he said, disagreeing with how he's doing it. But that's okay. You do you. And
I think that's really what it is how you approach the way you want to talk about things is really what it is all about. And while I definitely agree with his, what he was trying to convey, again, to your point, I don't know if I agree the way he tried to push it out there.
And I want to ask this question. And so for all of you in the chat, and Sheiv and I will talk about it here as well. If people come to Star Wars from different backgrounds, different experiences, different things are what people enjoy. Some people, the original trilogy is it for them. Star Wars stopped when the original trilogy ended, right? The other people, the prequel trilogy is their jam. That's where they grew up, and that's where their heart is. People love the sequels. People love Obi-Wan, and people hate Obi-Wan. It's a whole mix. And so what I'm curious about, and Meg kind of brought it up yesterday when we were talking, what is it for you, and in chat, please contribute as well, what is it for you that brings you to Star Wars? Is it the political undertones, the messaging that George Lucas put into the movies? Is it the hero's journey? Is that what gets you? Are you in love with the characters? The characters from where? Which characters? What is it that really make you passionate about Star Wars and want to defend the franchise, or get you excited to watch something like that? Darren, the Slave Leia outfit. That's it.
Yep.
He was hooked.
Bingo.
After that, I'm on.
That and Natalie Portman, enough said.
That's it. So so I just wanted to see if what people were thinking of, because it occurs to me that Josh's rant this morning was about the guy who said something to the effect of you're just in it for the cameos, blah blah. Well, some people are in it for that. Like that, if you see a cameo, it's like that meme where you see Leonardo DiCaprio,
Yeah, he's like,
right? Yeah, right. And I that certainly happens to me too when I see an Easter egg or cameo. I'm like, I saw the thing. The thing was in there.
I mean, there was plenty. If you're a Jedi Fallen Order lover, or just like a lot of the video game side of Star Wars, there was still a ton of that in Episode 4. You know what I mean? I was doing that the whole time, going, "Oh, look!"
I know. I was watching your reaction to it, and I was like, "Oh, Jedi Fallen Order." Got you really excited about this episode, and then other people are in it for the lore. Really stuck on making the connectivity work, and all the things line up. Our friend X-Wing, for example, right? He loves the lore. He is passionate about the lore. Really, really deep into the connectivity of it all. Definitely. And when those things kind of take a backseat, he gets a little annoyed.
Oh, I totally get the sentiment too. I mean, I'm a big lore lover too. Like, I think for a lot of us, even there's multiple reasons why we love Star Wars or why we're so connected to the franchise like we are. You know what I mean? And you talked about whether it's lore or Slave Leia's outfit, whatever it is. I totally get feeling the way that X-Wing and other fans do about this, and how it has kind of, for some people, maybe broken canon. Personally, I don't fully see that myself, but I know for other people's, like, their perspective might be different.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jason, I know you just got up. Have you gotten your coffee yet?
Nope, not taking it though.
No coffee today?
No coffee. Oh no, for me. I'm breaking the cycle.
Good for you.
I was up to 3 cups a morning. I said, you know what? I'm gonna scale it back. I'm quitting for a while.
Cold turkey.
That's hard to do.
But I slept in. So
you got the kids this weekend?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no.
Yeah, they're on a summer vacation now. So
not a good week to pick to go cold turkey on the caffeine.
I'm a masochist.
Yeah. And Master Binks there. That's a good one. It's the lessons learned, right? The mythical, borderless type universe, realism of characters bring. I love this conversation. This is what I wanted to do. And I see my friend Gray in the chat, right? It's the first thing she ever watched was strong female characters. Is not allowed to watch TV. Gray and I came up from a very similar background. Very, very rooted in conservative Christianity and very poor. Very, very poor. Mm-hmm. And I really connect with Gray. She's a great friend. But, we have different walks of life. We live our lives differently now. But we love Star Wars. And so, Jason, what is it for you if we have that same conversation?
Yeah, well, I heard a little bit of it as I was getting ready just now, so I'm a little bit behind. But basically, like for me, it's a little bit of all of that stuff. I mean, it's like, what did he call it? A limitless universe?
Yeah.
And it's like the same thing applies to all of those things. Sometimes you'll watch something that has a ton of lore to it, and that's great. Or it'll be like, oh, I really kind of like I like Westerns, but I find them boring. But when Star Wars does the Western, I love it. It's so there's like all of these different like kind of aspects to it that work for me depending on the story, and some obviously work better than others at different times. Like remember when Solo came out, there were some people that were just like, I don't connect to this because I like that Jedi mystical sort of like aspect to it. This doesn't have any spirituality for me, kind of thing. Yeah, and that's like, yeah. So I think it's like it's that amalgamation of all of those things personally.
Yeah. I remember, like, and I've shared this with some folks, and we got maybe some new folks here that haven't been around for some time with my channel and don't know me all that well. I was born in 1967, 10 years old, 1977. The first movie I ever remember seeing was Star Wars. It wasn't A New Hope at the time; it was just Star Wars, and that Star Destroyer coming across the screen chasing the Tantive. That changed it for me. I am the visual aspects of Star Wars captured me as a 10-year-old, and the story was exciting, adventurous, And I was talking to my boss about this. He knows I've got this channel. So, Reginald, if you're there, I'm going to talk about you a little bit.
Reggie.
But yeah, Reggie. He's a great dude. I'm telling you what, I would love to get Reginald to talk to him sometime. You guys to get a meeting. He's an awesome guy. But he does not really get into fantasy. So, Star Wars never hit it for him. Same for like Harry Potter. Doesn't really hit for him. Fantasy takes him out. Sci-fi, yeah. Fantasy, not so much. So for me, I love fantasy. I absolutely love fantasy and the wizards and dragons and all of that. Right? I love all of that. And Star Wars was a perfect marriage. Jason, gotta hug your Willow picture. I get it. So Star Wars was that right combination for me, right? The realism, the lived-in universe, and the space fantasy. You got wizards and sword fighting and dragons, or monsters, whatever. Right? Lately, we do have dragons, which makes me entirely happy. But all of that stuff is what I fell in love with. As far as like the lore and the characters, those are part of the delivery channel for the space fantasy. So for me, that's, if I had to rank them, that would come second. I love reading the books. I love the lore. But when Star Wars breaks lore, I've learned to not get too triggered by it. For me, right? And I talked about this yesterday with you and Meg, Jason, that the prequels broke me. And I had a hard time reconciling that. And they still give me some issues as I watch them. But I've learned to love them for what they are. And I kind of went hard on it yesterday. But look, George Lucas, what the prequels really give me is George Lucas's vision for his story, right? It's his story. That's what he gave us there. And I appreciate it for what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Star Wars is bigger than any one story. So if something doesn't work for you, especially in this modern era, it's fine. And you just go, okay, I'll take the next one.
Exactly. And Thomas Shane, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for that. And he says, I'm curious, after seeing the complaints, would the originals be as loved if they came out today rather than 1977? Let me tell you. Yeah, let me tell you this is. If I weren't 10 years old when I watched them, and I knew the subcontext of it being anti-Vietnam, anti-Nixon story, right? Especially with the Return of the Jedi, right? That was George has flat out come out and said like the Ewoks and the represent the Vietnamese. And the Empire was Nixon's war machine, right?
Yeah.
That would not have landed well with Santa. Just saying, like, I've defended Nixon before. That's the kind of right-wing nut job I am, right? Just to tell you guys. I know, Jason. I'm sorry. Rob right now is losing his mind.
No, Nixon's kind of a moderate today. That was cool.
But it's just for me. I think the political undertones, if it were known, and people were to watch it today, it would be very unpopular.
If that was out, like you said, like if George Lucas actually said that and it came out like this year or something, like I don't know, and it still would be as fantastical, but I don't know, like if people emphasized on stuff like that. And I don't know if they would either, because if it's something that's brand new, people don't usually dig deep. But if it's something that's a continuing storyline like Star Wars, of course people get nitpicky and, not everyone's going to love it. So then some people are going to be really loud and talk about the things they don't like.
Yeah.
I think that's really the base of where we're at in Star Wars is it's a 40-year-old, 50-year-old franchise almost, and it's gotten to the point where a lot of the people don't like certain things and are going to be vocal, and some people just make clicks on it and just want to monetize off of that, and that's just kind of where we are.
That's true. I want to highlight Nikki's message here because, and it goes off what you were just saying, Sheiv, is that Star Wars, as it was starting, it didn't have all the lore behind it, right? It didn't have, so as the stories were coming, as George was changing things up as he went, making it up as he went, it worked a lot better because we didn't have decades of books and
lore,
comics and video games to compare it to. Yeah, exactly. And what she's saying, right, the OT, it's kind of tough to put it in that same sort of context because we talked about this a little on Discord. Lucas is not a Tolkien, right? Tolkien built this whole world. He had backstories for his backstories. Like the dude was insane, right? In his books, all his stories worked, but they're not retconning each other as he goes along because he already had that all figured out. George had some broad story arcs in mind, right? Brushstrokes, broad brushstrokes, and he wrote the story within that. And as he went, if as the story developed and as they kind of went through rewrites, if they conflicted, he would just tell the story he wanted to anyway. And like, Lord be damned, I'm not going to worry about that. We'll figure it out later, right?
Well, you know, to go back to like the initial kind of question, the thing that keeps occurring to me is, and I know it was true because I had really religious cousins and stuff who I'd go out to visit, and like my He-Man always had to stay in the car, like that level of like very religious, like very, very protected against anything outside of the community kind of stuff. But when Star Wars came out, or when Star Wars was like really connecting, it was so magical and good that everyone was trying to co-opt it. Star Wars is about my religion. Star Wars is about my struggle, about my it worked so universally.
Yeah.
So I think if it came out today, for instance, the only thing that would crash it is if George did say what things were avatars for.
Right.
This is about the Iraq War. Then they would be like, oh now I get where I am. Now I don't want it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So he'd have to be quiet on what he was drawing from, illusions from or whatever. Yeah. And but at the same time, so yeah, I think it's so magical that everyone would just co-opt it.
And I'll say this: I've defended George on this before. Mm-hmm. Politics runs throughout Star Wars. It always has. But in the original trilogy, George was extremely masterful about how he wove it into the story, as you just started to talk about. We didn't know that was about the Vietnamese. Like, wait, the good guys are the Vietnamese? We didn't know that. And you wouldn't just know that unless afterward he came out and said it, which he did, right? So when he said that afterward, you're like, ooh, I don't like that. But it was already, you love Star Wars. And so you could kind of just throw that out, like Luke did with his lightsaber. Just toss it over your shoulder. Walk away.
Because like one of the things that got Lucas really into the concept of the politics of Star Wars was that Nixon had aides who wanted to try to find a way to use the military to keep him in office. They were like floating the idea to him, and that's where he started going. That freaked him out a bit. It kind of had his own, kind of like January 6th must have really freaked him out, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. and but they were kind of thinking about doing that. It might have even been Roger Stone for all we know, because he might have been the same guy who had the idea for Nixon. But basically, like, like it makes a lot of sense that you could go, you know what? The Vietnamese, a lot of them in that situation were in a bad thing. They didn't ask for this. The stuff comes down on them from exterior forces. So you can look at the Vietnamese as both bad and good. Just like Ewoks would probably eat people, but at the same time, they are just teddy bears who are in their place and the outside came to them. That's imperialism.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I do have a Patreon super chat that asked this question. So I'll ask you guys the question. I want to get it up here so that everybody can see the question, if Patreon will cooperate today. But as that does, we'll address Thomas's $5 super chat. I'm seeing the complaints with Kenobi I'm curious if they'd have the same complaints with the originals if they came out today. Well, I think, Thomas, that's what we're saying is like, had all the lore already been there, and let's say they came out sequentially, and so you got the prequels, right, and then the original trilogy arc. After all these novels have been out about all those prequel characters, all the novels have come out about the ancillary characters and the stories, and then the original trilogy came out, it would have got lambasted. If it's as it is, right? It would have got lambasted because people would have been triggered over, what do you mean he doesn't know who R2 is? Yeah, what do you mean Luke's their only hope? Like, wait a second.
And Trev does put it a good way in the chat, too. He says, it's tough because Star Wars was so revolutionary for the time in 77. And that's a big part of it, too. Like, I think that's why a lot of people even like The Mandalorian with how revolutionary it's been to modern day technology and TV. I know that's not as big a part of the show, but it is a huge part of how they make it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So here we go. I do have the super chat from Ducky. This is great. Ducky Momo asked this question. He said, who would you be more afraid to meet in a dark alley? A half dozen cannibalistic murder bears from Endor, or a smirking Pelly and a half dozen of her furry friends?
This is no win.
Yeah. I guess the teddy bears, even though they're cannibalistic, like
I mean, who wants to be put on a spit and roasted live? I'm not up for that. I'll take my chances with Pelly and her furry friends.
Something similar to what you just said might happen with her and her furry friends. Just throwing it out there, Santa. You've been warned. So I'm gonna go with the Ewoks, man.
Yeah. And then Marklin Foster asked a question. Star Wars is highly emotional to me. It's the first movie my parents took me to after rehab, after issues. So it's the first I could tolerate in theaters. Mesmerized me. I was super young, but remember the feeling. I've talked about my brother with ALS, and I remember that Lucasfilm actually, and Jason, you were involved in helping his brother as he was really sick. So I've talked about my brother with ALS and our bond over Star Wars and Disney did for him. I love the franchise so much. Sorry, no question, just comment. So that's how Super Chat works, right? So thank you for that, Marklin. And I remember you talking about that. And that's another reason a lot of people are connected to Star Wars. It's something they did with their parents, or they have a memory of their dad or their mom. It's the first movie they remember going to as a family, those kind of things. And so it's nostalgic for those reasons. And that's what they fell in love with. And that's, right, I think that's, and I want to get Mike's super chat here. Said, Mike, dad joke, Inquisitor Porter. Keep up the good work, Santa, Jason, Sheiv, and Meg. Yes, thank you so much, Mike. So I want to kind of pivot that to the discussion of today. Can Kenobi win? Right? We have such a broad fan base who come at it for different purposes. Right? The nostalgia, just the space fantasy. Some are tied into the lore, some are not. And for Kenobi, for me, I'm loving it. And I know, Sheiv, episode 4, it landed really well with you.
Oh, yeah. I like
it.
I like it too.
The tie into the video games. Yeah, so again, sorry, Rob, we all agree here. I know you don't like when that happens, but...
yeah, get out of here, Rob.
I know. But the question is, can Kenobi win with the fandom as a whole? Can it unite the fandom? Is that ship already sailed? I asked this question sort of yesterday, but I kind of wanted to address it from a little different perspective today, and after being able to chill out just a little bit. So I think there's two things that I'm seeing as a primary complaint. There are lots of other complaints, like as far as like silly stuff, right? Like our friend Will Morgan noticed with the goggles yesterday. It was absolutely brilliant. Like the Oakley glasses that don't fit the eyeballs of the alien. that has them on. Like the eyes are this big, the goggles are that big, right?
Yeah.
Or they're on a hat, so you can't even use them. Like there's all kinds of things that Will Morgan was pointing out. It was hilarious and fantastic. So I mean, you can touch on all of those kind of mistakes, if that's what you want to call them. And Mark was mentioning some things to me in Discord this morning, and just in DMs. There's lots of those, lots and lots of them. And but I think the more severe ones are, where's Hayden? Right, this was
is next week.
Yeah, this was sort of
wait. Hold your horses.
Josh did a poll this morning. Do you think this was advertised, or did you have the perception before it came out that this was going to be Hayden and Ewan? And here we are, 2/3 of the way through.
I thought it was the Reva show, Josh.
Yeah, Josh, you read all of the spoilers and all of the articles, and then and your audience all listened to them. So you're making an argument, but that's the whole thing that to go back to what the question is.
Yeah.
Is can it win
No.
from a certain point of view? No, because in reality, its numbers are kicking ass. So that's actually the win. I have people in my comments going like, "Why isn't Kathleen Kennedy fired?" And I'm like, "Because she just broke Disney Plus records. That's why." It's like, I mean, so if you listen just to the couple 100,000 people that are active in the Star Wars community online, on average, then you could think something completely different. You could think Snakes on a Plane was going to be the biggest movie of whatever year that movie came out because of the internet. But the reality is nobody cared, and
Right.
it's so. I think the actual general audience, the actual the rest of the other million people that are watching it when it comes out that night and stuff, it's just a whole different game.
Well, that's I want to get Matt Risman. Matt, hey, I've had good reports about you, my friend. I've had some people DMing me saying, "Hey, Matt Risman's been a great voice of sanity through all of this. So thank you for your support. Thank you for the $5." And
I don't believe it.
he really asked the question everybody is asking, the normies and the hardcore fans alike. Everybody wants to know, if they had just revealed that Kumail's really inside Ned B, it'd smooth everything over for everybody.
Just wait until they kiss next episode.
Oh yeah.
But by the way, I know someone who's seen the next episode.
Yeah.
Okay. And it is of their opinion. Most people are going to who've been trash talking are going to be like, okay, that was pretty cool.
Good. I hope so.
I guess Reva's pretty cool. Reva's pretty cool. That's the expectation for just so you guys know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, that's what I sort of. So I think Josh is right, and I think most people thought that Kenobi was going to be about Anakin and Obi-Wan, and that they expected 4 episodes in to have seen a lot of Anakin and Obi-Wan, but you only got a couple of sprinkles of Anakin Vader.
They have never marketed that you're going to see Anakin one time. They've even made it sound like the lightsaber duel stuff that we will get, that is with Hayden Christensen, is him in the Darth Vader suit.
Right.
So if you follow only official channels, if you only follow the actual marketing, you would be insane to think that. There was no
marketing to me that ever made it seem like this was going to be an Obi-Wan and Anakin show. If you want something Obi-Wan and Anakin, the Brotherhood book just came out. You can go read that. That's a really good book about Obi-Wan and Anakin. This is supposed to be the Obi-Wan show. This is a show about Obi-Wan and his story between episodes 3 and 4. It was never marketed as the Obi-Wan and Anakin show or the Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader show. That's a big part of it, though, and we're still going to see the rest of it. There was only one part of it that we saw, and it wasn't even a big fight yet, because guess what? We're watching Kenobi's progression through this story. And yeah, there's some other characters who are important, but it's still the Obi-Wan show, and it always has been.
Yeah, well said, Sheiv. Well said. And Celebration is marketing, and I know that they've had Hayden on the press tour with Ewan, and so a lot of people, just from the imagery, right? You see him on the press tour, you see the pictures, you see him going through. That becomes part of the marketing. So I do get that, and so that's my when I say
3 out of 4. 3 to 4 episodes.
Well, and I will say, I've seen people talk about Obi-Wan hasn't been in the Obi-Wan show. I'm like, I don't know what you guys are watching, because he's been in every single episode. He's been the central point of every single episode. Even where we see like Leia kidnapped and the drama going on with that. Those
are our summer children. We just have to be nice to them and let them go. Let them run around until they go to sleep.
It's still about Kenobi, but I think it's fair to say, yeah, we haven't gotten much of that. But so that's my question: can it win? In the last 2 episodes, are people going to be satiated? Right? Are they going to get Hayden and Ewan? And Jason, I asked you this question yesterday as well. Like, is it 30 seconds that are split up into, little 5-7 second flashback memories? Or is it closer to like 10 minutes of
I wouldn't say 10 minutes. I 10 minutes sounds really
that's
great.
A long time.
No, I'd say just give it maybe a few minutes from the sound of things. And if you're, I've been the worst at getting to my Star Wars Santa bingo cards for these episodes. I've been terrible, but I'm going to say vote on, go with this one being the shorter option, option on this next one.
Okay.
And then next week, the longer option.
Okay. Right. There you go again with the unpopular truth, right?
but it's going to be, I mean, the next one's going to be rock and roll. Trust me. It sounds like it's going to be pretty
well, and a lot of folks were saying that Hayden had to, you said this specifically, Jason, that Hayden had to go through lightsaber school.
Yeah.
And it wasn't to be just standing around, right? We've seen the pictures of him in lightsaber school with the cape and all of that, right?
Yeah.
And we know that he is not the dude in the suit for the bulk of what we see.
Yeah.
Right. So
helmet breaks, that'll be him. And then, but it's mostly for the other thing. That's my understanding.
Which would mean that this next episode 5, should make a lot of, as you were mentioning earlier, should make a lot of the more critical folks happier, whether it gets them all the way to happy or not, right? If you got a scale, they're all the way over here on triggered, rage, much like Josh this morning, right? Just in a complete rage. It may bring them into more of a moderate dislike. And then they get the episode 6, where we get as you mentioned, they were filming that battle for like the better part of a month. Isn't that what you said? Something to that effect?
Yeah. It was they filmed that for weeks. So I'm expecting and hoping that it's good, that the first duel was just about his fear, and it was just treated like a segment of an episode and not like, here it is, you guys. Like it's dynamic. That is almost supposed to be the bait and switch. Like, you think that's going to be the duel, and then you're like, oh, that wasn't it. But most people went, well, that was it, and it was no good, and they start crying about it. And it's like, well, come on. I mean, look at what episode it is. You think they're going to do the final fight in episode 3?
Right,
guys. Come on.
So let me just. I was thinking about this earlier as well. If these last 2 episodes are banger, right? They're absolutely on point for what people wanted for Kenobi. You get Obi-Wan and Anakin in the flashback. You get Obi-Wan and Vader. They
could even still do Anakin Order 6 scenes the way this has gone. I mean, I doubt that's going to be in it, but they haven't shown us Order 66 since that little clip in the first beginning. So like, there's so much on the table left, and everybody's like,
well, just from what Jason's released, I'm not expecting a lot of Order 66 stuff.
Yeah, I know.
But we do get some Clone Wars era flashback of Hayden and Ewan sparring. And that should be very exciting for our prequel fans who would just absolutely love that and want to see more like live action Clone Wars era Hayden and Ewan, like he's mentioned before, Sheiv, brotherhood, right? Like you get more of that in live action in the Obi-Wan show. Could they watch just the last 2 episodes as standalones? Like they get triggered over 1 through 4. Would they be, like, to Meg's point, like rewatchability? Will they rewatch 5 and 6? Is it something they can just kind of compartmentalize and say, well, 5 and 6 really landed well for me. I love that. I'd love to go back and watch it over and over again.
You want to go, Jason?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of I'm at the end of my rope with patience for the concept that people do not evaluate what they got. Instead, they mourn what they wanted and didn't get. And that's just, I just think it's really immature in a lot of ways. And the things that they've wanted, they're going to get. It's coming. The next 2 episodes are everything that they've been, crying about for the first 4, because they wanted to get right to the cake, but they got to eat the whole meal to get there. And so where I'm kind of going with this is, I think that if the last 2 actually give them what they've been wanting and lamenting the whole time, then I think it will be a lot easier to get into the more subtleties of the opening and how you get there. In theory.
Wonderful. Yeah.
In theory, yeah. I think that's the key. It's like when you can hope, and I hope that everything goes perfect for the people that are hoping to see this or that. And really, like, in a way, you almost have to go into Star Wars with like open expectations. You can hope for stuff, but like putting this has to be in it. Like, you're gonna be disappointed. You're gonna be disappointed if you this has to be in something. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Yeah. And Trev, you're right. I think you could watch episodes 5 and 6 of Book of Boba as primers for season 3 of Mandalorian.
For sure.
It is just
maybe these last 2 episodes will be that, but for me, what we got in episode 3 with Vader, the complaints coming out of that episode, there's probably not any way that those people are going to be satisfied at the end of the show.
Yeah. I would go back to just listening to what you 2 had to say. I think if we go back to the prequels, for example, I love
for sure, Nikki, but that's all perspective too. Sorry, I know I shouldn't even.
No, that's good. No, that's fine. That's fine. Very good, Sheiv. I go back to the prequel era for myself. The Clone Wars animated series gave me a lot of the backstory, say for Dooku, specifically Dooku, that make his character more relevant. And you could see where General Grievous is just a runaway. Right, that's all he does. He fights and runs away. He's a quitter.
Mustache twirling bad guy.
Yeah. He's a quitter. He just runs away. But anyway, I'm trolling again. Sorry, that's just me being silly. But the Clone Wars animated series really gave me a lot of backstory and care a lot more about some of the characters in the storyline that was in the prequels. And so, just to narrow the scope, if episodes 5 and 6 of Kenobi draw the people in, would it maybe give them the context to want to see 1 through 4 maybe a little more?
It should, but also if you're somebody who is like, I'm only happy when Hayden's on screen, well, that's not going to magically put Hayden in episode 1 the whole time and make him in a cave with Obi-Wan going, hello, friend. I'm the imaginary Anakin, the one that you lost, and we live here together and have conversation. Like, that's just not going to happen for them. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm just kind of like, this didn't exist a month ago, and now it does. It doesn't change anything. It's a deeper, adds people to it and stuff. Like, people are mad that they got more. Like they're literally telling them you did more, so I'm mad at you. At the end of the day, and I'm like, you guys are crazy. This world is crazy. That's my take.
well, that's true. That's true. Look, and I was going to say something that would drag us way down. And people now are going to be curious. We lost my mom very unexpectedly a couple years ago, and it was tragic. We grieve that. But the one thing that we consistently say is the world's gotten more crazy and would have been extremely distressing on her, right? Like,
Yeah.
she would have been really, really upset with the state of the world and some of the things that have happened in the United States in the last couple of years. And because of our faith, because of our beliefs, we believe that she's in a much happier, much better place than we are. Mm-hmm. And so we feel like this place is a nutty place. The Chimera. I love this because Sheiv. It was fun to watch Sheiv in his live watch. When Tara Sinube showed up, he's like, "Whoa, that's Tara Sinube!" And so I couldn't remember the dude's name, but Sheiv recalled that right away. Yes, the Clone Wars made us care about Tara Sinube, and then we saw him in Kenobi. That was super cool. That was one of those things where. We were talking about before. That's the meme.
Yeah, the Leo DiCaprio.
that's the Leo DiCaprio meme right there. I mean, you go back and watch Sheiv. It was basically the same thing.
When I was watching it the other day and I saw him, I was thinking about how funny it must have been because he probably escaped the Jedi temple. Yeah. Pretty much the people in there are probably people that were hunted and captured after. So he probably got like on a little speeder and just like drove away real slow and just nobody noticed. He just kept going.
I was gonna say is like he that's how he does it. It's slow and steady, but I guess they eventually caught up to him.
Eventually, they're like, "Hey, there he is."
Or they were trying to catch somebody else and they were too fast, and he just kind of slowly walked into the amber and got caught. They're like, "Oh, we weren't even trying to get him," but he just kind of floated in there. Captain DJ, this is look. I appreciate you're here. I appreciate you in the conversation, but I think this is not a show about Leia and Reva. This is a show about Obi-Wan Kenobi. She said it very, very well earlier. This is a show about Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, Leia is our MacGuffin, if you want to kind of simplify it.
Yeah,
and she is prominent in the show. But this is a show about Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's not so much about Hayden or Anakin Vader yet. He's certainly been sprinkled in. He's part of Obi-Wan's story, a big part of Obi-Wan's story, and we're going to get some of that. But this isn't the Leia and Reva show at all. And it raises a question, though. Go ahead,
there's
Chief.
Still 2 more episodes, is what I'll say, in terms of Hayden and Ewan, and I think they're going to be more prominent, especially in the last episode. And there has to be a story. Like, I remember fans at the beginning, like when we were getting closer to Kenobi, like, why is he going to leave? Like that, that kind of breaks canon in its own. People were saying that back then, and then I see today, and I mean. Don't get me wrong. Big shout out to Heavy Spoilers. I like that dude. Paul did a good job. But he put out this little rant on, not a rant per se, but just like his opinion on Obi-Wan so far, which dangerous to do. Basically at the end of it, he said that, his points were, it hasn't fully worked as a show because they've been kind of writing it as a movie, or it's supposed to be more of a 6 hour movie or whatever. Or 3 hours or however long it is, and he said that Book of Boba Fett kind of felt that way too, and in a way, like I definitely see what he means. And he said, The Mandalorian is written more as a TV show, and you can definitely tell. Like one episode is kind of a story, whereas Kenobi, like it's all one big story, and like you can't really just watch it sequentially. Like it almost. I feel like Netflix should be doing the week by week thing with like Stranger Things and stuff, and Disney Plus should just drop it all at once because it would probably be better to binge watch them. You know what I mean? But he ends it basically saying that Kenobi should go from like planet to planet and like help some people out and kind of take off and go to the next story kind of a thing. And I'm like, weren't people complaining about him leaving Tatooine in the first place?
Yeah,
Leia's in the story. For him
to past it though. We did get past it for what it's worth. That was the big thing, right? People wouldn't stop talking about that.
But now they're talking about everything else because
because he leaves. So of course he does. We got to get over it.
Yeah,
I would also say that there's like what Star Wars hasn't been an ensemble. Everybody keeps acting like Star Wars are these intimate one character piece things. That's never been the case, even in Mandalorian. It's always an ensemble.
Yeah,
100%.
my hip really hurts until I hit my thumb with a hammer, and all of a sudden I don't even notice my hip hurting. That goes to what she was talking. What you guys are talking about, like Kenobi leaving planet. Like they're real mad about that until they get more mad about something else. And Fitz, yeah, we need to have a moment of silence for poor Wade, everybody's fan favorite.
R.I.P.
Wade
hardly
wading
knew
in the
you.
ocean. He said it. Star said.
F in the chat.
Gonna miss you, guy. I just met 1 minute ago.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So I don't want to hash too much on episode 4. We've done our breakdowns of it. There are a couple of interesting theories coming out about Reva, and again, huge shout out to Star Wars Meg. Her video this morning was brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
I was sleeping.
I love her so much. And today's video is, I think, a good dose of just what we need in this fandom. And covering Star Wars content, there's a story making its way around from a completely unknown source with no credibility or any kind of track record that there's going to be a Reva spin-off show. And she says, take it with a giant truckload of salt. Like I agree. But it's making its way through the fandom. I don't want to necessarily explore that story too far, but the remaining 2 episodes of Kenobi seem to be setting up a surprise moment or a reveal with Reva, and the one of those theories is that she is actually what's his name's wife,
Roken's wife.
Yeah, Roken's wife. That's an interesting perspective, that she could be that character, that the Empire came and found her because of her Force sensitivity. She could also be the girl we saw in episode 1 in the temple, right? And during Order 66, she left. Later, she meets Roken. They get married, knowing who she is, and then we find out, and they're getting ready to go to Jabim. She sees her husband, and it's part of the psychological pull that kind of
Interesting.
reveals something more about her character. Right?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I have not thought of that. Personally, I thought she'd be kind of maybe too young to be married to Roken. In my opinion, I think Roken's wife is one of the characters we saw in the Amber stuff, like frozen in there. And I don't know for sure. That's kind of my theory on it. And then Reva would have only been like what, 10, 11, 12 at the flashback if she's the little girl in the beginning.
Right.
So what would she be, like 20,
21?
Anakin's age?
Early 20s.
So I don't think she's like really into the whole marriage stuff at this point, especially because she's probably on the run for everything. And like, I don't know. To me, that doesn't really make as much sense. But it's a cool theory, though. And I do expect to get a lot of resolution with Reva in these last couple episodes. So I'm sure people will find a way to complain about it since they don't like her character.
Trev, thank you for the super chat. I could see an Inquisitor spinoff show. We heard rumors of that early on. I just don't know. I tend to, like, I see Sheiv shaking his head. I tend to be more.
That was me. Thinking about my comment.
Reva, you have done it again. That would be like every episode. Oh no, the fifth brother. Oh, she's at it again. It'd be like so formulaic.
Will Morgan, we get a Reva and Ice Cube Jr. straight out of Space Compton.
Ooh, I'm in.
No, I just think that could be really interesting, seeing more of her story, if indeed there is a story there to tell. But I think we might get some of that in these last 2 episodes.
Well, that was I put out a report about.
I've heard that about you,
future,
Jason.
about the future of it
that you put out,
and that Reva does. Yeah. So she just goes off.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, and so I don't know who put the story out. I didn't see that story, so I'm not throwing shade on it. I'm not calling anything on it. I'm just being,
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I've heard about it, but I haven't looked.
That was essentially what the implication was that if there's going to be Kenobi season 2, they don't know if it's going to be, in my report, they don't know if it's going to be called Kenobi 2 or if it's going to be the universe, the storylines of Kenobi continued into something differently.
I see. Ryan, thank you for the super chat. What do you think about Reva being the youngling from the beginning and just trying to free one of her old friends this whole time? So there's sort of like 3, I guess, takes you could have. She's the girl from the beginning and not Roken's wife. She's the girl from the beginning and Roken's wife, or she's Roken's wife and not the girl from the beginning, right?
I was always told she was the girl from the beginning since the very, very start.
Okay.
Who the other kids was always the mystery, but that being Reva, and I was specifically told around 14 to 15 years old. I don't know if the kid in the footage looks to be that age. I can't really tell, but it's yeah, but that's what I was told, which put Reva about 24 to 25 years old in the story.
Oh,
and so that's what I was always told, just for what it's worth. It doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean things change,
Right.
So I'm not
a good estimate.
Yeah, but
educated guess.
so I would probably put the most stock in the fact that whichever theory you take, she's the little girl in the beginning. She could be the little girl in the beginning, and she escapes, and she still marries Roken. That could still happen. I don't see why that couldn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting speculation as far as a spinoff with following her or her having her own show. I just don't know there's enough story to tell. And as I think Sheiv and I were maybe DMing about it. Look, the Inquisitors don't last too long in Rebels, and I mean they're fun characters in Rebels, but they go down pretty quick. They go down pretty hard, and they're not really all that effective as enforcers either.
Well, they do a good job for let's say 17 years helping Darth Vader and the Emperor get rid of the remaining Jedi who at this time period haven't been Jedi for quite some time for most of them, or are outnumbered by most cases. And I don't think the Inquisitors were ever really super powerful. I just think they usually outweigh in numbers. And oftentimes they're kind of depicted as being a little wonky as it is. And I don't know why this is kind of a new concept.
Right. That's sort of what I was trying to get to. It's like the fifth brother, he's been a bit of a tool.
I think he sucks. I think he's like the worst character.
Yeah. Was he ever like super, like as far as we got in Rebels, or take away comics and other things, like in Rebels, was he ever an intimidating force that caused any problems for anybody?
Maybe like once or twice, and I wouldn't even say it was that intimidating. Like they just cornered them in like a facility one time, and it was like, oh, maybe something will actually happen. But of course, they got away. So,
Ducky, I think Reva was Wade's ex-girlfriend. He's trying to run from her again, and she's like, "Oh no, you don't."
It did seem personal.
It's funny too how often the Inquisitors are wrong about stuff. Like in Fallen Order, the Ninth Sister shows up and she's like, "I told the Grand Inquisitor you wouldn't be dumb enough to come back here. I guess I was wrong." And then Reva is like, this or that. Like I didn't think they would do this, but they did. It's like, well, yeah, that's like kind of who the Inquisitors are. They try to do the best they can at taking down the Jedi, but then Darth Vader's out there scaring them literally. So like they're going based off fear, which is the whole point of their characters. Is they're literal sellouts. They in order to survive, they had to choose to kill their friends.
Oh yeah. Will Morgan, and Will's been messaging me this morning as well. Again, this guy's brilliant. You guys, Meta Egg, he doesn't put out enough content, in my opinion. More Meta Egg, please, Will. But he's absolutely brilliant in making connections. This is the Amber's most important story setup so far. What's going on in the Inquisitor is going to take us some Grogu and Snoke. And one of the things that Will said to me this morning is they could be preserved in the Amber even during the sequel trilogy era. like that for indefinitely, right? Like they could have been there for a long time. And if there's a de-amberification kind of process where they're maybe just suspended, they're not dead, they could be brought back to help repopulate the number of Jedi in the universe post sequel trilogy. And it's Star Wars. I mean, it doesn't have to make sense necessarily, but it's an interesting theory.
Cool.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, with what we've seen in Rebels, I think Luminara is similar to those amberified people or whatever you want to call her. And I think that's kind of what they used them for, was to draw in other Jedi, like we see them literally do with Luminara. So I don't know if there's any way of really coming back from the amber process or from the mummified process, whatever you want to call it. But it'd be dope if, they did find a way to do something like that. I don't think it's possible, though. I think they're dead.
I think they're dead too. But the other part of that, you could parlay like the Jurassic Park angle.
DNA.
They brought dinosaurs back by pulling out the DNA from the amber.
To your point with that, we do see Luminara, like the whole point of them using Luminara's body or whatever is there seems to be some force connectivity to it that draws Kanan and Ezra there. It's very possible they could be using whatever DNA is left from them to try and create clones of stuff like we see in Mandalorian.
Yeah. I tried to fish on that. I talked to people who were part of the sequence when they were filming it, and I was like, anything about that? They're like, it's just supposed to be creepy. like they didn't, there was like nothing floating around about it or any talk about it like on set about what it meant. I'm not saying it doesn't have a meaning, but if they did, couldn't get to it unfortunately on that one. But it does remind me of Willow.
Of course it does.
Is the Imagine is the end kingdom of Tir Asleen. Everybody is frozen in like an amber kind of stuff at the end from the magic of the evil Bav Morda. But when they defeat her, Tir Asleen is freed and they're able to return. Everybody's just like, hey, we're all happy, we're back. So there might be, they might do a Willow thing with it. I mean, it's possible, but they did seem dead to me.
Martin Keeler. All we need is some night witches to put their voodoo magic into the bring them back. Yeah. And RF Gaming Channel, let yourself out. This is absolutely hilarious. While in amber, I wonder if they're in touch with their senses. If so, do you wonder what the amber heard?
You just see like this one amber with
let yourself
like
out.
Turd in it. There's one turd in it. You're like, why, Inquisitors? Why?
Just RF Gaming. Just let yourself out. Just go.
It's not that depth.
Oh, no, all right, Sheiv. You too.
Depa beloved.
Yeah, huh? Sheev's gone. Sorry, Sheiv. No. Bring it back. Oh, that was funny. That was hilarious. So just as we close out here, I want to kind of go back to a little of the discussion, maybe on the fandom as a whole, right? What can bring us together as a whole? And a couple of the things that Josh was ranting about this morning. We got some folks on my side. I'll just put myself there to say, fans of Obi-Wan Kenobi. We're loving the show. We're loving the episodes. We're loving the story. Who are pointing fingers at the people who are on the other side, who are really hypercritical and hating it, saying, "Well, you guys are just being toxic." That's not healthy. It's not helpful, and it's not right. There may be some toxicity in there, but to just kind of label people that way doesn't help the discussion. And likewise, I've already had friends kind of insinuate that because I like it, I can't be a real fan. I don't think that's fair either. And that what tends to do is trigger me and make me say things I shouldn't. And I have to let that go because they are friends. I know that that's not, they don't mean me specifically. They're not trying to, but when I hear them say things like that or see them say things like that, I can't help but kind of get triggered by it. I think, well, geez, I've been a fan forever, and I love Star Wars, and I have my reasons for loving it, because my reasons aren't the same as your reasons doesn't make us different. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of wanted to go back there just for a little bit.
Yeah.
Martin, you're not wrong. There are racist fans in here. There are people who are, and Josh talked about this the other day, but he didn't go back to it today. He was making a different point today. He's putting on a show. That's what he does. He puts on a show. But he brought up the grifters that have attached themselves to these fandoms are not helping the fandom in these kind of discussions, because there are grifters who are kind of taking hold of the conversation and using it for their own purposes that are not for the benefit of the franchise or any of that
fan base or anybody except them.
Yeah.
And I even know where I'm going with it now, but it sucks to see, because there is toxicity on both sides, whether it is the positive toxicity, as Josh is trying to point out, or the negative ones. And then there's the people that even bring toxicity into it by being toxic, talking about the toxicity.
Right.
but
or gaslight to make a point of somebody gaslighting.
Yes, but there is stuff on both sides, and it kind of brings me back to this thing that I heard Dave Filoni talking about at Celebration. Like, it's so much harder to forgive or to say I'm sorry and kind of just be okay or move on with it. Like, you're still my friend, kind of a thing. Whether if you're having arguments with people online or whatever, like, we're all Star Wars fans at the end of the day, and it's harder to let that stuff go, to let that shit go. Sorry, Santa.
Yeah, no, you're fine. You're fine.
It's harder to sometimes, and stuff like that triggers me, the grifters or whatever. And heck, even watching Josh's thing this morning, I had to remind myself, don't get triggered. Like, it's
right.
Part of his performance. He's trying to get it out of me. But
yes, exactly.
It is so much harder to just say, hey, I'm sorry you didn't like the show. Maybe it's not for you, kind of a thing.
Right. And Josh triggers me from time to time too. I can't help it. He makes me mad, but then I get over it because I realize he's acting. He's putting on a show, and he's got his own reasons for doing it. I don't have to like him. I don't have to agree with him, but that's what he's doing, right? But
it's like what? Oh, sorry, Simon.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Jason.
No, it's like what Qui-Gon says, and I'll add a little addendum. If it's not science, your focus determines your reality. If you focus in on those people that are continually pushing your buttons, skewing your perspective and all that, it's going to seem like it's real, it matters more than it does, and ultimately it's going to ruin your time.
Yeah.
So when you're continually at odds with somebody's perspective, they're continually wrong in their analysis and in their stories and their perspective, stop paying attention to them.
Yeah. Well, and Nikki brought us something. Don't get triggered over people's opinions. I know Sheiv and I both reached out to X-Wing yesterday because he's a friend. We like him, but he is in a super negative place. And some of the things that he said kind of triggered me because it made it seem like he doesn't think I'm a fan.
I'm going to Clockwork Orange him. I'm going to strap him to the chair with his eyes open, just make him watch it until he loves it. I'll teach him.
I don't think that's what he really thinks. I don't think that he thinks Sheev's not a fan or that I'm not a fan. I think it's just kind of how he expressed his frustration.
He was disappointed.
Yeah. And so sometimes I don't watch X-Wing stuff because I know it's going to trigger me. I'm like, it doesn't mean that I'm not his friend. Same with EBN, right? Echo Base Network. I can't watch their stuff or I'll end up hate watching it. And I like the guys. I think what the community they're building and what they're doing there is a good thing. And they're helping a big portion of this fandom with the content they create. I don't want to hate watch them because I like them as people. X-Wing, the coach, and Nick, I like them. I just don't like their take on things, and why get mad at them because it's their opinion, right? At the end of the day, it's their opinion, right?
Yeah.
So, Martin, are you a fan though, Santa? Are you really? Martin, I love you, my friend, and I got a picture on my wall that proves it. Yes, Nikki, I know you. I know you're a great person.
To banter with Nikki.
Yeah, I love her. I really do. So, anything else you guys want to add to the conversation before we call it a day?
I think we said it.
I do too.
I think so.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. And, Martin, a true fan would answer my email. No,
Ooh, called out. You got called out, Sen, on your
fire. Cheeks fired.
Cheeks fired.
Star Trek. We need the Star Trek shake.
Oh my goodness,
hit,
that's
Captain,
good.
with the cheeks.
That's so good. Well, Sheiv, thank you for jumping in today. It's great to have you here. You guys check out Vader's Lair. She's a great friend. He just went over the 1,000 subscriber mark.
Good job, dude.
Thank you.
Hit that monetization. Congratulations. That's great.
Appreciate you guys.
And just a wonderful person, wonderful human being, good friend.
I got you, Santa.
I appreciate
He's the nicest Sheiv I've ever known.
I know. You're not kidding. You're not kidding.
It's part of it. That's why,
You're in your episode 1, like shaking hands, kissing baby's face. They're gonna be like, unlimited power.
And Jason, I appreciate you being available today, getting up and helping us out as well. You guys, I've had a lot of fun talking. I think this was a good conversation to have today, especially following Josh's rant this morning. I feel better. I hope you do too. Jason, you're going live in about an hour?
About an hour, yeah.
Wonderful.
Right. Yeah, come hang out if you want to talk about more Star Wars stuff.
I'll try to show up in the chat at minimum.
Cool.
So you guys take care, and I'll let you two go. I'm going to go grab lunch. I'll play the outro, and we'll talk to you later. All right.
Much love,
everyone.
Guys.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye. All right. And for everybody else, thank you so much for being here today. Please have a wonderful day, and thanks for all your support. Until next time, my friends, Merry Christmas, and may the Force be with you always. Bye-bye.
Hot dang! Talking through the news from a galaxy far away. Toys and book reviews, positivity all the way. Come and join the fun, subscribe and like away. Movie news and show reviews, it's like Christmas every day. Oh, Star Wars Santa, Star Wars Santa, the Star Wars Santa Show. Oh, what fun it is to chat on the Star Wars Santa Show. Oh, Star Wars Santa, Star Wars Santa, the Star Wars Santa Show. Oh, what fun it is to chat on the Star Wars Santa Show. Ho, 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 ho. Hot dang, ladies and gentlemen, you're in for a treat tonight on the Star Wars Santa Show.